So there's an update on the Renters Reform Bill this week as proposals and amendments were actually brought forward to the House of Lords. So in this video, I'm going to be speaking about what they were, what the final decision was, and what that will now mean. Now, if you are new to this channel, I post multiple times every single week talking all things property. So if you're enjoying what you're seeing, do give it a like and do subscribe to the channel. So before we go into actually what was finalized this week, let's speak a little bit about what the Renters Reform Bill is. So to recap, the Renters Reform Bill are legislations that the government has proposed that will be coming in very soon that is geared at making things more fairer for tenants. So it gives tenants more right and more security. So things like Section 21 are going to be abolished. So Section 21 is the no fault eviction, where you can actually remove a tenant from your property without actually having a reason to do so. So that will be abolished, and it'll be under Section 8 going forward that you'll actually be able to evict a tenant. And as well as that, there are other key changes that are happening as well. So I do actually have a YouTube video on the Renters Reform Bill. So if you want to actually understand about what it actually involves, feel free to check out my video there. So this week, there was a few key proposals that were brought forward to the House of Lords. So number one of the key proposals in the Renters Reform Bill is if a landlord evicts a tenant because they want to sell a property, they can't now re-let that property out for 12 months. Now, there was a proposed amendment to make this 6 months. So 6 months will still mean that they wouldn't be able to make no money from rent or anything like that before they re-let the property. However, this was rejected by the House of Lords, and they have actually said that no, this is going to stay at 12 months. So if the landlord was to now evict the tenant and they actually want to sell their property and for whatever reason they just couldn't sell it, that nobody was putting in offers, they would have to sit on that property for 12 months and potentially lose 12 months of rent before they could actually let it out on the market, which is crazy. So a lot of landlords will, all good intention, will actually want to sell their property, and for whatever reason, they may not be able to because of what's happening in the market. And I think 6 months is a lot fairer. It will obviously half the amount of money they'll lose out on, but also 6 months is still a fair deterrent from landlords actually using it as a means to actually just get rid of a tenant. 6 months of missed rent, no landlord's going to do that with a tenant that's actually paying on time and taking care of the property. Second, there was another proposal that was made to enable landlords to actually ask for 3 weeks additional pet deposit in the event that they took on a tenant with a pet. So this would just enable them to be more secure, and if something was to happen with the property because of the pet, they could actually use that deposit to fix the issue. However, this was also rejected as well. Now, the thing is with this legislation in the Renters Reform Bill, it says that landlords should not discriminate against those that have pets. They should consider those that have pets. However, there's nothing to say that you can see someone have a pet and just not let out to that person. So this could actually potentially be more detrimental to the tenant, because if the tenant had the ability to actually pay the pet deposit, a lot of tenants might, which would give landlords a certain level of security and will make them more likely to actually rent out their property to an individual that has a pet. Another amendment was, currently if you have a HMO, you can let it out to students, and then you can actually request to have the property back before the academic year ends. However, you can't actually have those same rights if you have a 1 or 2 bed property and you let it out to students. So you wouldn't be able to just get the property back before the end of the academic year. So the same rights that HMOs have in terms of getting the property back via student possession, you couldn't do that if you have a 1 or 2 bed property, even if you had every intention to now let it out to students. So this could actually form as a deterrent and actually reduce the number of properties that are available for students. So it is a bit crazy. A lot of the amendments have just been rejected by those of the House of Lords. So what's going to happen now is it's going to go back to the House of Commons to receive final approval before it then goes to the Royal Assent, which will then mean at that point it's then law. Now, it doesn't mean that when it's law, every single law and legislation will then come in straight away. Naturally, a lot of these will be staggered because landlords are not going to be in a place where they can just accommodate for every change straight away. I think one of the key changes that will come in probably as soon as possible is where standard ASTs are going to just become periodic. So I think that'll be an easy change, and that could probably happen from day one. However, other changes such as Section 21 and things like that will probably take a little bit more time. So if you are a landlord, especially if you're self-managing, it's so important to understand what the legislations involve, what the rules are as well. So let me know in the comments what you think of the Renters Reform Bill and the House of Lords rejecting pretty much every single amendment that came in this week. So if you enjoyed this video, do give it a like, and you found value from this video or any other video on this channel, then do subscribe as well. And until next time, happy investing.